When faced with editing an image like this, most people reach straight for the tools in the basic panel. Don't. Experienced editors think in zones, not tools. When you start editing an image this way, the whole process becomes clearer and easier to understand. In this video, I'll show you how to think in zones using Lightroom's masking tools. Although I'm working in Lightroom Classic, this way of thinking applies just as well in other software. Start by breaking down the image into zones. Each of these zones represents an area that you want to adjust. If you think you need to apply different adjustments to one area than another, then it becomes a separate zone. To give you an example, in this image I want to fix the exposure and give it some life. But when I do this, I want to adjust the foreground, the tree and the sky differently. I don't want the same adjustments being applied everywhere. What this means is that we need to create separate masks to select each of the zones. Once we've done that, we can apply different adjustments to each of these zones. Now that we know what zones we want to use for the image, we need to work out the best way to select them. Sometimes, through experience, it's going to be obvious, and sometimes it isn't. When it isn't obvious, just start by making some experimental selections. I'll show you what I mean using the foreground zone in this image. Lightroom has a few tools I can use to select this, and they're available when I click the mask icon. Because I haven't added any masks to this image yet, we see the tools listed. As this is a landscape image, let's try the landscape option. Now we see the areas of landscape that Lightroom's detected in the image. Can you see how this is similar to the idea of thinking in zones? If I move my mouse pointer over the list, you can see the areas highlighted by a red overlay. The nearest option to selecting the foreground is the natural ground, but that creates a hard transition with the horizon. If we use a selection like this with a hard transition, our adjustments could look unnatural, which is going to make them stand out. We don't want that, so let's cancel it and try the linear gradient instead. Now we can easily use the linear gradient for selecting the foreground up to the tree, and it's got a graduated top edge. This allows our adjustments to blend into the image so they appear natural and believable. Now, before we go any further, let's rename our zone Foreground. We can do this by double-clicking the name in the Mask panel. This opens a dialog where we can enter the name Foreground and apply it to the mask. We then see the mask with its new name displayed in the panel. In terms of adjusting the foreground in this image, I'll just move the white slider to the right. When I do this, the red overlay vanishes and we see the effect of the adjustments. Notice how this emphasises the highlights in the foreground and makes the area appear lighter. I prefer to use an adjustment like this on a contrasty landscape rather than using the amount slider. It creates a more natural looking adjustment. It's important when you apply adjustments to understand the effect they're really having on the image. Sometimes a less obvious tool is much better than the one that everyone reaches for naturally. A good example of this is the tone curve. I'll just drag the white point end of the tone curve to the left. This also emphasises the highlights in the zone as well as opening the shadows slightly. Anyway, that's the first of our zones selected and adjusted. We can now adjust the position of the mask just to refine the effect on the image. If I hide the mask to compare the image to the original, you can see the effect of the adjustment. Let's move on now to select our next zone to adjust. This time we want to select the tree. At the moment it's being thrown into a silhouette by the strong backlighting. This is what you would expect, but having adjusted the foreground, the tree now looks out of place. So what we need to do is find a way to select it cleanly to separate it from its surroundings. To do this, click the icon to create the new mask. This displays the tools that we can then try. Let's start with the landscape mask option again because it had a couple of options that might work for this. First we can try the sky, but when I move my mouse pointer over that option, we can see that it isn't an accurate selection, so that's no use to us. The next option to try is vegetation. That works much better because it selects the tree, but it also selects parts of the foreground that we don't want. It could work if we remove some of these unwanted areas, but let's try a different solution first. A good rule of thumb to remember is that the simplest way to create any mask is usually the best. And by simple, I mean using the least number of selections. The other option in the landscape selection is the natural ground, which doesn't select any of the tree, so we can discount that. Let's cancel this now and try a different tool. To do this, click the Create New Mask icon to show the tools again. This time, let's try the Select Object tool. This tool has two modes, the Brush tool and the Rectangular Marquee. Now remember what I said a minute ago. The simplest way to create a mask is usually the best. If I use the Brush tool option, it's going to mean I need to do a lot of painting to select the tree. But if I click the Rectangular Marquee and then click and drag over the tree, when I release the mouse, it selects the tree. This produces a reasonable selection, but I don't think it's as accurate as the landscape tool we tried earlier. So I'm going to delete the mask and then I'll click to create a new mask, and this time I'll select the landscape option. In the options, I'll choose the vegetation and then create the mask. Now, although this selected a lot more of the image than the object selection tool, the tree is better separated from the sky, which is what I want. Removing the unwanted selection from this mask is going to be much easier than trying to clean up the unwanted sky from around the tree using the other option. To do this, click the Subtract button below the mask. We can then choose the tool we want to use to remove the unwanted area. The linear gradient is probably going to be the easiest to use, just as we used it for the foreground. After selecting it, we can click and drag to position the gradient. Notice how this removes the foreground section of the mask. Now we only have the small bush to the left of the tree. I'm actually happy to keep this selected because it may just become less distracting after it's been adjusted. If it isn't, we can come back to the mask and remove it later. Let's rename the mask now to be Tree so we know what zone it selects. As before, double-click the mask name in the mask panel. We can then enter and apply the new name. The other thing that I'll do this time though is I'll rename the linear gradient selection. I'm doing this to make its purpose clear. It's a good idea to do this when you combine multiple selections into a single mask. As with the mask, double-click the selection name. I can then call this Remove Foreground. Now we can apply our adjustments to the mask. I'll just zoom to 100% so we can see the tree properly while making them. All that I'll do now is open the shadows using the Shadows slider, and then I'll add some white. Finally, I'm going to apply some clarity to make the structure and brightest areas of the tree stand out. Let's move on now to selecting our final zone, which is the sky. We've already seen that the sky selection doesn't do a good job and it misses some of the brightest areas. But there's another reason I don't like using a sky selection for landscape images. If you look at the horizon on this image, you can see that the sky is lighter there than at the top. If we select the entire sky without feathering it in this area, it's going to make the adjustments look unnatural. I much prefer to select a sky using a linear gradient for this reason. First, click the Add New Mask icon, then select the linear gradient from the list. I can then draw the gradient to select the sky. The next task though is to remove the tree from the gradient selection, and we already know how to do that using the landscape selection option. To remove the tree, click the Subtract button below the mask. Choose the landscape option and then choose the vegetation mask. Now we have a clean selection of the sky. But what's really useful is that we can move and refine the gradient, but the tree still isn't selected. That's the power of these compound masks when you build them correctly. I'll rename the mask now to Sky to represent the zone it's selecting. Let's rename the vegetation selection to be Remove Tree. In terms of the adjustments to this zone, I'll reduce the highlights. Then I'll add a small amount of adjustments to the whites so that the sky doesn't appear too dull. Now for the bit that I enjoy the most, which is bringing the zones into balance. So far we've considered the three zones as separate adjustments, but they need to work together. To achieve this, we just use the Amount slider attached to each mask. Move it left and right to decide if it needs to be stronger or weaker. Work your way through each of the masks in turn until you feel the masks are working together. Look at the difference this has made to the image. This is why I say the best photo editors think in zones and don't worry about the individual tools. There are multiple ways to achieve the same adjustment. But if you don't set up the editing zones correctly, it doesn't matter what adjustments you apply. The results just won't look good. Now, as we've worked through this example, I've repeatedly used adjustments that I think keep the image looking natural. Despite this, I haven't really used what I consider is the best tool for this, which is curves. But to use the curves tool properly, you first need to understand how it works. It's not enough to know that you drag it up to lighten something and drag it down to darken it. To learn how the curves tool really works in any photo editing software, watch this video next. Thanks for watching today, and I hope you've enjoyed the example. Don't forget to subscribe, and please visit my website for more tutorials. I'll see you soon for another video.